Okay, happy Tuesday. In case you've forgotten, let's come on over here. So we took our test yesterday, Monday. That's handed back to you today, hopefully. Actually, let me phrase that. If you're here, it's getting handed back because I have graded already. Next Monday and Tuesday, you have your Illuminate test. This is the last chance that I really get to see how you'll do on the map test. I'd really like you to take that challenge seriously. You have a test next Wednesday. So this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll be doing new stuff. Friday will be a review for the test. Then you'll have Monday and Tuesday to ask for help because you won't have your test until Wednesday. So let me start this off by prefacing this a little bit that you actually know how to do markup and markdown prices. There is a way to do markup and markdown. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. That we've done by percent change, because markup is a change in price that is going a percent increase. Markdown is a percent decrease. So most of you know how to do this, but I'm going to add a different twist to it because Engage New York wants to start to show you that these markups and markdowns are proportional relationships. Now, when I say proportional relationship, some of you might remember, some of you might not. In a proportional relationship, we wanted an equation that was going to look in the form of y equals the constant k, which was the constant of proportionality, times x. So y equals kx. We found k by dividing y by x. And I've talked about these proportions quite a bit for what we've been doing. So just like on our test or on our quiz, there's multiple ways to do these problems. There are multiple ways to still do these problems, but I'm going to show you a very specific way. So Games Galore Superstore buys the latest video game at a wholesale price of $30. Wholesale means that's what they're able to get it for, okay? The markup rate, so now they're raising the price, so it's a percent increase. At Games Galore Superstore is 40%. You use your allowance to purchase the game at the store. How much will you pay for the game, not including tax? So here's the thing. We don't know how much we're going to pay. So Y is going to be the price of the game at the Superstore. So we don't know how much we're going to pay. What we do know is the percent increase that they're charging us. So the game is 100% of the wholesale price, plus an additional 40% markup. So all of this is getting added, and then we're multiplying it by the $30. So this is my equation. I know that the markup is 140%. So if it says solve this, well, I can't solve this yet. Because could I write y equals 140% multiplied by $30? Sure, but we need to know 140 is out of 100. So that really leaves me 1 4/10, because if I divide that by 100, it gives me 1 4/10 multiplied by 30. This would be the equation that I want to use. So once I have that equation, I should probably have a calculator here, I can now say, okay, I'm doing part B. Y equals 1 4/10 multiplied by 30. So I take my calculator, I do 1 4/10, I multiply it by 30, I get y equals 42. Well, what is that? That's y equals $42. Okay, great, but what is that? That's the price of the game at that store. That's not what the store paid, because I'm not paying what the store paid. They have to make money somehow. So they're not going to sell me a game that they bought for $30. They don't make money that way. Their markup rose the price to $42. So I'm paying, notice how I labeled it up here as Y, I'm paying $42. So if you really wanted to be critical, I put this as X. Okay, that's the price they paid. Okay, so that's A and B. Copy that down, and then let's go down to the rest of these questions, because you're going to see a question like this on your test. Okay, so as we go down, it now asks us two separate questions. What was the total markup of the video game? And then it says, you and a friend are discussing the markup price. So the markup is just, that's like the discount, that's like the sale, that's the price of just what was increased. So how can we find the total markup? Well, we can say we paid $42. The store paid $30. What's the difference between those two prices? Well, the difference is $12. So the total markup is equal to those $12. Okay, that's what the markup is. It's the difference between that wholesale or the original and the ending or the new. That's why I liked using those new minus original, but those would have been tough to graph. And I'm telling you that you're going to end up graphing today. So now it says you and a friend are discussing markup rate. He says that an easier way to find the total markup is by multiplying the wholesale price of 30 by 40%. Do you agree? Why or why not? So this is not asking for the amount that we pay. It says there is an easier way to find the total markup, not what we pay. So let's see if we agree to find the total markup. Well, we take 30 and we multiply it. Well, we can't multiply it by 40%. This is why it's so important to understand how to change that percent to a decimal. We either divide it by 100, which gives me 40 hundredths or 4/10, or we can move that decimal. So if I have 40%, 1, 2, I can multiply by 4/10. That gives me 0, that gives me 12, 1. Oh, so it still gives me the same markup. So is that an easier way? Yeah, I do agree with my friend, if I had friends and we talked about markup and wholesale. But does this give me my actual answer? No. What would I have to do with this if it said, hey, what's the price that you paid? You'd take your wholesale, you'd add it to the markup, and then you'd say, oh, I spent $42. That one is relatively easy. So, moving on. Let's see if I can shrink this down just a little bit, because I'd like to see this whole problem. There we go. Where's my rag? Okay, it says a $300, let me erase this. Oh, please tell me that I'm taking the video. Dr. Gardner, come on in, come on. I'll be right back. No, you're fine, I'm taking the video. Can you give me 7 more minutes? Would that be right? If you'd like this,
my office when I do
that would be perfect. Thank you. So, a $300 mountain bike is discounted, wow, by 30%, and then discounted an additional 10% for shoppers who arrive before 5 a.m. Find the sales price of the bicycle. Well, there's 2 different ways that we can do this. Okay? 2 different ways. First off, we're going to just find for everybody. So, if it's discounted, what percentage am I actually paying? Well, again, here is what they paid. I'm trying to find the sales price. So I do y equals, well, if it's 30%, that's 100% minus 30% of the total. That's what I'm actually paying of the $300 bike. So now I have y equals 70% multiplied by 300. So if I change that to a decimal, I get y equals 7/10 times 300. If I had a calculator, because I put it down, I'm losing all kinds of stuff, that would give me 0, 0, 21, move it over 1 spot. So y equals $210. Well, what is y? That's the sales price. Okay, that's just my sales price for the bicycle. Well, what if I was doing the additional 10%? I don't like how this book has done it, okay? So a $300 mountain bike is discounted by 30%. So we now have this. In order to find this portion, we need this one. because it's already been discounted. This is what's showing up. If you come early though, you get 10% off of this. So I'm going to explain that one more time because the wording on this is a little bit tricky. It's discounted 30%. The sign in the store says, hey, it's $210. Bam. But if you come before 5 a.m., you get another 10% off of this. So this would now become the X for the original, because this is now the original before the 10%. So now I have Y equals, well, what's happening here? Well, we have 100% minus 10%, because how much are we paying on the bike? Well, if it's 10% off, we're paying 90% on the $210 bike. So Y equals 90% multiplied by 210. That's going to give me Y equals 9/10 times 210. Let's do some mental math, Nicholas. 0, 9, 18, 1, 1. So now I get $189 for the additional 10%. There's two different ways that you have to go about that. In all, by how much has the bicycle been discounted in dollars? So here, this one is $90. How did I get that? Well, it started at $300. I subtract 10, which is a $90 discount. For this one, I would do 300, goodness gracious, minus 189. That's going to give me $111 of a discount. Those are my discounts. Okay, so in all, if we're doing the second one, it's down $111. After both discounts were taken, what was the total percent discount? Well, this is my part, this is my whole. So if we're trying to find the percentage, what could I do? Well, I could go with the original, which was my 300. I could go with my new, which is 189, equals, we don't know the percentage, I'm going to call that K, times 300. Well, how do I find that percentage? We divide. Remember, we're doing a percentage, so I have 189 divided by 300. Our proportion is usually part over whole equals percent over 100. We're doing the same thing. So if we divide 189 divided by 300, we get 0.63. Okay? So this is leaving me 0.63, which we know isn't a percent. So that's 63%. But is that my discount? Well, no, that's the price that I'm paying. 63% is what I'm paying of the whole. So what do I have to do now to find the discount percentage? I take 100, I subtract 63, and that's going to leave me 37% discount. Is there an easier way? Yeah, I personally like my original minus new divided by original, or new minus original divided by original. That percent change formula is what I would be doing. But many of you aren't going to be able to use the formula to make a graph. So I'm trying to show you the way that Engage in York wants you to really change it to get to a proportional relationship. How do I keep losing my rag? I've really lost it now. Where is it? There it is. Ugh, that's disgusting. Okay, so let's take a look at this graph. And why am I going to make you use this y equals kx kind of stuff? So we're going all the way to exercise 4. All the way down to exercise 4. Passing all these, passing this one. All the way to exercise 4. Write an equation to determine the selling price in P dollars on an item that is originally placed S dollars after a markup of 25%. Mark up. So we don't know what our part that we are actually getting sold for it is. So P equals, but we do know it's a markup of 100 or 25%, so that's 100% plus 25%. Mark up, we're adding. And then we're multiplying it by S, which was the original. So my equation now says P equals 125% S. Do we want the 125% though? No. We want this as a decimal. So P equals 1 and 25/100 S. There's my equation. So now how can I use this? S, P. We are creating and labeling a table to show 5 possible pairs. Well, S is the original. P is the selling price. If the original was $0, if I substitute in 0 for S, I multiply it, it's still going to be $0. What if it's $1? Well, 1 times 1 and 25/100 is 1 and 25/100. Okay, let's try something else. Let's go with $2. Oh, that would be 2 and 50/100. Why? Because I substitute in 2 for S. You're making up these numbers. Let's do 4. So I substitute in $4. Let's get a calculator because I'd hate to make a simple mistake. 4 multiplied by 1.25 is $5. So these are all dollars. Okay? I could do another one and say 8. So if it's $8 originally, how much am I paying after the markup? Well, 8 times 1 and 25/100 gives me $10. Okay. I need that because what does this do for me? And I'm going to draw them way over here. These give me ordered pairs. That first ordered pair is 0, 0. That means if the original was $0, the price that we're paying is $0. If the price, the original was $1, we're paying $1.25. If it was $2, we're paying $2.50. This is how you explain what it's saying, okay? And that's going to be a question on your test. If it paid originally $4, we pay $5. And if a store bought it for $8, we're paying $10. Well, I'm going to leave those because now that you have that, what do you need to do? Now you need to create a table. How do I keep losing my rag, folks? It's not a very big room. I shouldn't be doing this. So, I know my equation stays the same. P equals 1 and 25/100 S. So, this is, over here, my Y and my X. Y equals KX. My X is the price that we're buying it for. Oh, no. I lied. This is the original price. That's better. This is the price we're buying. So now I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, how am I going to make this table? I'm making this graph on this because of the table that we've already made. So 0, 0, there's my first point. 1, 1 1/4. Okay, so it's right about there. 2, 2 1/2. So right about there. 4, 5. Then 8, 10. Now, if we really want to be specific, I can get this wonderful meter stick. You could have a ruler. Wait a minute. Let's see here. So I'm looking for 2 things now. I know all of those numbers are right because I've already substituted in. It's starting at 0. And it's a straight line. We call that linear. Those are the 2 things that makes it a proportional relationship. So it says in D, so before we get to D, you have to graph it. If you graph it correctly, it will form a proportional relationship. Letter D says, interpret the points 0, 0, and 1, R. Well, they're just giving us something that we might not know, R. We don't know what R is. What did 0, 0 mean? Well, this is what we need these kind of things for. Our 0 is my S. Remember, this was S, P. which was really or x comma y. So at 0, 0, the original price was $0. The price we paid was $0. So what does 1 comma r mean? The price was $1. R was the price that we're paying. If they said, what was 8 comma 10? 8 was the price that was the original price. 10 is the price that we paid. This is what we are doing in this lesson. So on your problem set, I would like you to do number 1, number 2, number 4, number 10. So 1, 2, 4, and 10. You are doing numbers 1, 2, 4, and 10. If you have any questions, make sure you ask.